next one. You understand me? So we finished the phase region. You know, in this week you passed the small control. Yeah? 2 groups passed it, another 2 groups will pass it. Let's say from all phase region, not frontoparietal occipital, no temporal region, only phase. It is superficial phase and it is deep phase. And please, friends, do your best. You know, the most simple what you can do, just to relax and just to say, I can. Primary, don't use this in your life, because if once you will believe that you can, you will not be responsible to do anything in your life. You can do everything, just you need to want it. Now let's come specially to my lecture. Listen, don't cry. Is it important region? I think it's not necessary to prove you. Is it specific region? Again, yes, of course. What is the specificity of head from surgical point of the view? Primary, of course, it is the cranial cavity, and primary it is the brain with its structures, which is located inside of this region. That's why we must do our best from point number 1 to not damage these structures. From point number 2, if these structures is damaged or if they have surgically treated problem, to make the necessary performance. According to this, we will start now to describe the surgical treatment and what is the most usual surgical treatment for any region. You, friend, if it's possible, go sit down near the computer and try to open it. Then it will be open. Go to the download folder, find the lecture number 3 from operative surgery and open it. At the same time, of course, listen. Now we need attention to what is the most usual surgical treatment. It is the primary treatment of the wounds. Primary surgical treatment of the wounds. Otherwise, we call it the debridement of the wounds. Imagine that you are the doctor, you are the surgeon, and your patient have some wound of the head region. Doesn't matter now in which place of head it is located. First of all, you should do your best to understand which kind of wound is it. For that, we will give you now classification of the head wounds. Right, please. Head wounds classification. Point number 1. All wounds of the head divided into 2 big groups. Number 1, it is penetrated. Number 2, it is non-penetrated. Open the brackets and write, please. Non-penetrated wound. This is the wound up to the level of dura mater. Penetrated wound. It is the damaged dura mater and deeper located structures. Write it and look to me. What does it mean? We make the border between penetrated and non-penetrated wounds, and this border is dura mater. If it is the trauma up to the dura mater, we call it non-penetrated. If dura mater and of course deeper located structure like the arachnoidal matter, pia mater, brain is damaged also, we call it penetrated wound. Why this classification is important? Because in case of penetrated wound, all your treatment ways will be different from non-penetrated, about which we will see. Classification number 2. All wounds divided into 2 groups. Wounds with the damage of soft tissues only, and wounds with the damage of the soft tissues and bones. Thank you very much, Frank. You can sit in your place. Wounds of the soft tissues and bones together. Now we need attention to me. Of course, you understand that if we, for example, see, for example, knife wound, or I don't know, any other sharp body wound, primary we will have the damaging of the soft tissues. Vice versa, if you will imagine blunt bodies traumatization, or bullet traumas, gun traumatization, usually we will have combination of the traumas of the soft tissues together with the traumas of the bones. That's a two main classification I gave you. First one, penetrated, non-penetrated wounds. Second one, it is soft tissues and the bone. Many attention. In majority of the books, third classification is also given. First, listen, I don't read. They say that wounds divided into open and closed. That is critically wrong, because closed one called the trauma, it is not the wound. Wound, it is the traumatization with the violation of the covering tissues. Skin or mucous membranes should be damaged. Otherwise, it will be called not the wound, it will call the trauma. That's why let's write in that case, traumas of the head, not the wounds, but the traumas, divided into open, which is called wound, and closed, which is called closed trauma. I think you understand what the difference between just the trauma and between the wound. Wound, it is open structural unit, skin or mucous membranes, because we have two coverage tissues. It is or skin or mucous membranes. They should be damaged, they should be violated, they should be ruptured. If they doesn't rupture, that is not the wound, that is the trauma. It is understandable for you. Now write, please. Traumas divided again into two main groups. Trauma of soft tissues only, and trauma of soft tissues and bones together. I think it is not a puzzle, yeah, guys? I think you understand that even if the skin is not damaged, we can have the fracture of the bones. Of course, in that case, I will have the traumatization of and soft tissues and the bones together. Otherwise, if we have not so severe trauma, with just a hematoma, bruisedness, soft tissues is damaged, bones no. How I can simply check it? I will make X-ray. I will make X-ray, and X-ray will show, for example, the integrity of the bones. I can find any disorders, any fractures, any dislocation, anything. Or if it is necessary, of course, on CT scan I can do it. The most prominent method of investigation. But anyhow, we come to conclusion that trauma divided into trauma of the soft tissues and trauma of the bones. Now, minute attention. Majority books gives them third classification, second classification. Yeah, for trauma we give only one classification. Trauma of soft tissues, trauma of soft tissue. Some books give them second classification. They say traumas also can be divided into penetrated and non-penetrated. Don't write, just listen. What does it mean? Now imagine situation that after the trauma of the head region, integration of the skin is not damaged, but the bone is fractured. And pieces of the bone penetrated dura mater, reached the cranial cavity, and damaged the brain. Of course, you understand that this is not a wound because it is closed, but it is some specific trauma. It is penetrating trauma. Rupture of the skin we don't find, but that is the problem which is spread up to dura mater or sometimes deep to it. That's it. That is just to remember for you, because some literature give it, another literature doesn't give it, but for yourself remember please that traumas we divide it into soft tissue and the bone traumas. Traumas can be divided into non-penetrating traumas if it is only level of soft tissues, or soft tissues and bone, but dura is not damaged. Usually that is very seldom, because if there are the fracture of the bone, usually this slim dura also is damaged. But anyhow, Theoretically, we can imagine it, yeah? If dura is damaged, it is become for us to the penetrated type of. By the way, this term, penetrated wound or penetrated trauma, used not only for head region, for any our regions which has the natural cavities, we can use this term in penetrated. It means trauma or wound reached the cavity or didn't reach. If it didn't reach the cavity, we call it non-penetrating. If it is reached the cavity, we call it penetrated. For example, thoracic cavity. What is the last layer of the wall and first layer of the cavity? Parietal pleura. If the parietal pleura is damaged, it is penetrated. If non-damaged, pelvic parietal peritoneum. If it is damaged, it is penetrated. If it's not damaged, pelvis, parietal layer of pelvic fascia. If it is damaged, we have penetrating. If it is non-damaged, we have non-penetrating. That's a penetrating and non-penetrating. It is general term for any parts of the human body with natural cavities. Of course, for head region also. That's a, we understand which kind of the wounds we can have in head region. Now let's speak about main stages of the primary surgical treatment of the wounds. Right, please, primary surgical treatment. On stage number 1. What is your name?
Gayatri.
Gayatri. Gayatri, now imagine that you are not writing my lecture, but you make the surgical treatment. Doesn't matter which kind of the wound. Now I don't speak about trauma, I speak about wound. This is skin or mucus is damaged. Tell me please, logically, in your, I will give you, wait. Logically, in your opinion, what will be your primary treatment? Which manipulation you will do firstly if there are the violation of the skin and mucous membrane? What will be your primary manipulation? Arresting of the bleedings, guys, it's so funny. Yeah, why it is confuse you? In case of any wound, the most dangerous complication which we can have it is bleeding. It will be very funny, yeah, if I will start to clean the wound, if it is give the bleeding. Or if I will start to apply the, I don't know, bandages, if the bleeding is continuous. Or I will start to make, for example, the removing of the foreign bodies instead to arrest the bleeding. But it's funny, that's a right, please, stage number 1. For any wound, it is arresting of the bleedings. And here one sentence. Bleedings in head region divided into 3 main groups, even 4. Group number 1, from soft tissues of head region. Group number 2, from bones of head region. Yeah, don't be confused. Inside of the bone, we have diploidic layer, which contains veins. Aside bone fractures, it is also source of the bleeding. By the way, samely for tubular bones, not only plate bones, tubular bones. Don't forget that inside of the tubular bones we have big vessels. Yeah, for example, femoral bone have very huge, big comitance artery, which is make the supplement of the bone. So in case of the fracture of the tubular bones, also we see the bleedings. Continue, please. Source number 3, it is dura mater venous sinuses. Very hard bleedings, guys. In some cases, even mortal bleeding. A little after I will tell you why. And finally, source number 4, of course, it is brain and its vessels. Let's say that is the 4 main sources. And now, I ask you guys, don't try to write everything, you write the main questions, now try to listen. Most usually, we have the bleeding from the soft tissues of the head. And I must now understand together with you which methods I have to arrest these bleedings. It is more than simple. I want to remind you once again that there are 4 methods of the arresting of the bleeding. 2 temporal to permanent. Two inside of the wound, two outside of the wound. That's all that methods which we discussed together you will use. Of course, in pre-hospital stage, primary you will do temporary methods of arresting of bleeding. In hospital stage, primary you will be permanent methods. Let's start from street. I can do three types of manipulation. Two outside of the wound, one inside of the wound. What can I do outside of the wound? Point number one, I can make the finger pressure of the vessels according to their projections. Second manipulation, I can apply the pressing bandages, again, according to the place of location of the main vessels. For example, from the region of the bregma, you have the bleeding, you know that all vessels here, it is ascending vessels, yeah, which has come from up to down. If you will apply, for example, pressing bandage in the region of the forehead and occipital portion, if you will make enough pressure in this region, I don't say tourniquet, but just pressing bandages, it will be enough for you to press the majority of the main trunks and to decrease the bleeding or to stop it. Comparable how lucky will be this person. What can I do inside of the wound in street condition? Manipulation, which we call the tamponade. What is the tamponade? You take the sterile bandages, napkins, they have adhesive functions, yeah, they can suck the liquid. And you insert it inside of the wound. You try to do it maximally cool, clean and sterile. You try to not insert it your dirty fingers inside of it. It has two effects. Effect number one, it is the adhesion of the liquid. Effect number two, it is pressure in the walls of the wound. Then it is press the walls, it is close the small vessels, and it is decrease the bleeding which we have in that region of the wound. Is it understandable for you? I think it is simple. Okay, what else I can do in the street condition? For some severe problems, if these methods which I say you doesn't work. For example, we have penetrated wound and bleeding from the cranial cavity. We can make the tourniqueting of the neck region. What does it mean? Primary in the side which is damaged, you apply the tourniquet. In opposite side, you apply the protection. For example, piece of the wound. Let's say you make the pressure not of all neck to kill the person, but only one side of the neck. Primary, you press the common carotid vessels, supplement inside of internal and external carotid arteries critically decrease, but remember, you have maximally 20 minutes for this manipulation. If you will do it more than this time, it will make unreversible disorders of the cortex of the brain. Because unfortunately, you know that the least tract doesn't give enough collaterals to supply the both sides if one from the main internal carotid arteries will be crossed. The same remember about it. Much more usually we use it for extremities. You know, the tourniquet appliement generally used in case of bleeding from extremities, but here also there are rules. Remember forever, tourniquet is applied only in part of the extremity with single bone. That is thigh region, that is arm region. It doesn't apply in part of the extremities with more than one bone. Why? Because between two bones we have the space, and by tourniquet this space cannot be closed. And during your increasing of the pressure, all vessels will become to this space and will give the bleeding here. And you cannot connect the bones to each other. Is it understandable? You can say, what to do if there are, for example, head, again applying the arm. What to do if there are foot, again applying the thigh. No any other chance. Again, remember about time. For extremities, it is usually 30-35 minutes. That's it. You take the piece of the paper, you write the time of applying of this one, and you insert it under it. Because you don't know, will you make the hospitalization or somebody else, or you make only first aid treatment. So the next person who will take this patient should understand the time of applying. After these 30 minutes, you will lose this tourniquet at approximately 5 minutes. It should be loosed. Then you can tie it again. But this 5 minutes is necessary for recircularization. Otherwise, it can give high, of course, it's connected with age of the patient, with the development of the collaterals. Whether the more hot will be, the less time you will have, due to the high metabolic reactions. But generally, remember, then you make tourniqueting techniques, you have short time. And you must do your best for quick hospitalization of the patient. Great. Now let's speak, what can I do temporarily? Yeah.